I bet. So, the book that I wanted to talk about was Fiat Ruins Everything, and chapter 2 was talking about Fiat steals dreams and replaces meaning. So, this whole chapter I had to read about 2 to 3 times to really grasp everything that he was saying and to reflect upon each of the topics that he went over. And the first one that he went over was how fiat money is devaluing and debasing your dreams. And he talks about how when we were younger and, in grade school, and people would ask us, what do you want to be? What are your dreams? We say all types of things with no regard for what we thought was actually practical. We gave an answer based off of our hearts and our true passions and what we really cared about. And we really didn't have any limitations in our minds. And he was talking about how as we grew up, and we gained more consciousness and we realized what world we live in, and we kind of lose ourselves. We lose that inner child when it comes to our dreams, chasing our dreams and our passions. And he's saying how one of the main reasons for this is that we come to our senses about how, like, at the end of the day, we need money. Like, our dreams, our passions are cool, but we need money to take care of ourselves. And, because our money is being debased and is being printed and devalued, and we keep having to make more and more and more and more money, and we can't just work and save money and preserve our energy for the future, that we can't, at the same time, that the result of that is us not being able to focus on our passions, to live out our dreams, to realize our passions and our dreams, and we lose ourselves because of this system, because of the debased money. And when I think about that, I think about, when I was younger, how I played, a couple different instruments. I was heavily involved in just music as a whole, every aspect of it, listening. I listen to it a lot, obviously, now, but listening to it, making it, and playing it, reading it, writing it, every aspect of it. I was just so deeply involved with it, and I loved it, and since I've been out of high school, really, and now that I'm out of college, and I'm just working pretty much for the most part, and it's my main thing outside of, this YouTube thing now. But outside of that, this and working, it's like, all right, what else am I passionate about? What did I love to do as a kid? And that's what I go back to, is music and playing music. And I got a guitar right there, but it's like, bro, I gotta make money. So I gotta make money. But I think it's important to carve out some time to indulge in your passions, indulge in the things that you are, indulge in your dreams, and carving out a way for your dreams, because this system does steal our time. It does steal our dreams by way of demonetizing or debasing our money. If you could work for a specific period of time, save up enough money, and then be able to count on that saved money to last into the future, it will completely change your perspective on your dreams. It will completely change your perspective on what you thought was possible in your lifetime. But because the reality of our system, and my generation not gonna get Social Security checks, and it's gonna run out, things just getting much more expensive, people not being able to live by themselves and gotta get 2 and 3 roommates to take care of themselves, with the same jobs that used to sustain a person by themselves. It's like, all right, where do I fit in my dreams? Where do I fit in my passions? If I don't have somebody else that's helping me, if I don't have, resources in order to put me in position to do so, how do I get those resources? And that's kind of what my channel is about. That's largely why I got into trading. I've seen the world for what it is without truly understanding why it is. I understood what I was seeing as far as people working, seeing the people that I love working in my life, always working, besides my dad, but seeing people working just to work and not having anything to show for it, I saw what was happening. And when I came out of high school, that's when I was like, all right, I came across this trading stuff, and I'm like, all right, they say 90-95% of people can't do it, but that don't apply to me, and I'm like, all right, well, if I can be that 5, when I become that 5%, then I can teach other people how to do it. I can put my family on, and then nobody has to work if they don't want to. And that's my whole goal with this. That's my whole goal with this. And so that part of the book really just made me think about my dreams, my true dreams and my passions on a deeper level, and think about it outside of money. Because when I was playing music, I wasn't thinking about money. I never thought about making a penny off of money. I never thought about making a penny off of music. That never crossed my mind growing up. I played music because I loved it. I played music at school because I loved it. At church because I loved it. It wasn't for anything else. That was never even thought in my mind. It's crazy to think back on that now. But yeah. So he was saying most people throughout history found meaning in the pursuit of something greater than themselves. And what made him say that is, he gave an example of a community that is working, collectively together and working on a common goal because they share common values, And the example was the cathedrals, Europe. He was saying how most of the work that was done on the cathedrals was done by volunteering. I don't know how true that is, but he said most of the work was done by, it was volunteer work. And a lot of the times the cathedrals took hundreds of years, 100 years, 200 years to build. And, the people that were pitching in, whether it was through physical labor or through monetary help, didn't see the fruits of their labor, didn't see a return on that investment. They didn't get a return on that energy that they spent. And why? It's because it was what they were building, what they were contributing to was bigger than them in the grand scheme of things. So they didn't mind, they didn't mind it. And he says, though the cathedrals have now turned into our major corporations, these major corporations have these different programs and they try to foster community, but end up just becoming financialized because of the debased money that we have and the corrupt money that we have. He was saying how any nonprofit organization pretty much becomes for profit and pretty much becomes financialized because of the debased money, and the company having to focus on how to make ends meet rather than being of service to the community and being of service to the consumer or the customer, being of service to the employees. He's saying how that's why these super mega large corporations have high turnover rates because their employees aren't really taken care of, and they end up just becoming numbers on a spreadsheet. Because you're going there for a paycheck. You're not going there because you're not working for this organization. You're not a part of this community because you believe in what it's producing. You don't believe in the change that's going to make. Y'all don't really have shared values outside of the workplace. And he's saying how this has become how fiat corporations have become a disguise for a real community and a shallow replacement and substitute for a real community. And he then talks about Fiat's education. He talks about the Fiat education takeover of family legacy, and he's saying how families at one point were largely the source of value development, largely the source of education. A family was known by its community, based off of its last name. Your last name held weight, and in some ways in society it still does. But he's saying back in a certain period of time that it held more weight. And if you had a certain last name, certain things were expected of you, and you were expected to have certain skills and certain attributes as a human being. And he's saying how now most of the skills that we have are largely homogenized. A lot of the values and beliefs that we have are largely homogenized because of the education system that we have. Once we went through the Industrial Revolution and, we had the Department of Education and, we had the school system that was created in public education and all this stuff, we all started learning the exact same things. So, our beliefs are different within certain limitations, and you no longer got most of your values and your skills and your educations and your beliefs from your family. You didn't get them from your family as much, is what he's saying. And because of that eventually leads to you becoming a slave pretty much to the state's agenda. You only believe what they tell you. You believe what they teach you. You don't question it, and that's dangerous. That's pretty dangerous. It stops growth. It stops innovation. It stops just evolution as a whole, and it creates stagnation within a civilization. So I thought that was pretty interesting, and I knew that already, but the way that he put it with fiat money and how that the education system was created in order to just perpetuate the fiat system. Schools are supposed to be non-profit, but they are for profit. It's a business. It's a business. No different than he goes into religion. How fiat money corrupts religion, because religions are, churches are supposed to be non-profit organizations, but let you get a pastor that isn't keeping the congregants in the within the service, and that pastor's not gonna be there for long. He then goes on to talk about how politics has debased science and how fiat money has just corrupted politics. I've spoken about this multiple times on the channel, but because fiat money has corrupted politics, fiat money and politics is basically touches every part of society. Fiat money is going to corrupt everything that politics touches, right? So politics has debased science. Why? Because there are mega corporations that's in bed with politics, paying off these agents of the government, politicians, in order to put certain things in place in order to benefit these corporations, create barriers of entry for other companies, ultimately blocking growth, blocking competition, blocking innovation, keeping us stagnant. And this bleeds over into science because our medical system is ran by public corporations. And a public corporation has shareholders. And if you have shareholders, they're going to expect a return on their investment. And because they're expecting a return on their investment, you now have to financialize something that should not be financialized. Medicine, health, taking care of a civilization should not be financialized. It shouldn't be, money driven. Our medical corporations should not be public. They should not be public. And politics has debased the science because now instead of creating, like, I'm almost 99% sure there's a cure for cancer, but because of politics, there's going to be certain corporations that are going to stop certain science from being put out into the world because cancer makes so much money. All the money that's donated to cancer research is like, bruh, all this research for this one disease is like, god damn, this is like kryptonite for the human being. Like, I'm not buying it. I'm not buying it. So yeah, it has debased science because these mega corporations are going to get in bed with politicians. Politicians are going to block these certain studies from being released from different, businesses and, private practices or whatever. And it's going to stagnate growth and it's going to stop the truth from coming out. And the base of science is actually largely tied to the metaphysical. It's largely tied to religion, and it's most science is often done in the pursuit of greater truth, in the pursuit of God, and it's being debased. And the root source is the debasement of the money. It's actually crazy how everything. It makes me think about how the Bible is. People say the Bible says that the money is the root of all evil, but nah. Money is a gift from God. Bad money is the root of all evil, it seems like. So he goes on to talk about the erosion of meaning in the age of fiat. And he says, society has become affected by an inverted value system that prioritizes money over meaning. People are conditioned through propaganda to pursue only state-approved paths via the education system. Authorities seek a compliant population. Divided loyalties make individuals less obedient. So if people have the same value, people have different value systems and they don't necessarily agree with what the government is putting out, then the government won't have control over them. If the government doesn't have control over them, this fiat money system can't stay in place. If it can't stay in place, and the people in power with all the money will no longer be in power and the system's going to fall. So he goes on to talk about rejecting fiat meaning. He says, meaning by nature requires low time preference while we are constantly bombarded with the high time preference concerns. So low time preference is putting in work and not expecting instant gratification, right? You're putting in work, with the end, with the future in mind, a greater vision in mind. While high time preference is when you want instant gratification, and it takes the form of different things such as supercars, crazy iced out chains, overspending on designer clothes and shoes that you can't afford, to fill a void inside you. And he's saying that meaning, because of the money, meaning is being devalued, and what's being prioritized is the material. It's instant gratification, it's the fast results, the fast dopamine hits. That's why porn is running rampant, within society. Everybody just wants a quick hit of dopamine, quick hit of whatever stimulates them, to a certain degree. ADHD is at all-time high. People can't stop scrolling, can't get off the phone. Like, even me, like, that's why I don't like social media. I don't like it. It's not good for me. I see it in myself. I get caught up scrolling I get on Instagram to post, the link to these videos, and then I click on a few stories and look past an hour that went by. I'm like, God damn, I got caught. He ends the chapter talking about how Bitcoin brings a renewed focus on the long term. Why? Because it's perfect money, because it holds its value. It fulfills all the properties that we need in order to transact and send our energy from, exchange our energy pretty much from person to person globally. At the same time, it holds its value and actually increases in value, which is what a perfect money does. And by it preserving its value, we're no longer incentivized to just spend it and invest it and buy clothes and just get rid of it. We're incentivized to do work. It changes the work that we do. We're incentivized to do more meaningful things, and we're able to plan for the future. We're able to plan for the long term, because I know that, okay, I'm gonna do this work today, save my energy that I put in today for later, and I don't have to worry so much about now, and I can actually think, take some time. I don't have to have 2 and 3 jobs, and it allows you to think longer term. He says Bitcoin power saving gives us the freedom to scrutinize our life choices, and the deceitful nature of fiat crumbles. Bitcoin removes fiat influence, allowing you to dust off those dreams and pursue something meaningful. So that's pretty much it for this chapter. Like I said, I had to read this one over a couple times because, man, the last book that I read just like opened the veil for me when it comes to the system and how it works, and how the money is the root of all of the BS that goes on in a society, in the world, really. It really opened my eyes up, and it's continuing to. This book is really talking about the same thing, but giving more in-depth perspectives and details on how this system is corrupting, our everyday lives. Whether we think about it or not, like, we're being affected by how bad the money it is. Like, we are. So it's opening my eyes up to a lot of things, and I'm gonna share what my realizations are with you guys. Hopefully you enjoyed the video, and yeah, I'll be back on here whenever I'm ready to give some more game, whenever I got something to say. So I hope you enjoyed the video. Enjoy your day, enjoy your night whenever you're watching this. Yeah, take care of yourself. Peace.